we had read till this. I think this is a pretty hardcore group of Bitcoiners. You guys know the format. We'll start. When practically everyone on earth uses a monetary system based on a deceitful lie, everything else becomes a lie too. Inflation is theft disguised as altruism, and it distorts all price signals, making all of us work jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. Inflation is the great tragedy of our generation, has been the tragedy of many other civilizations too. Yeah, so the times that we're living through are actually not that unique. The only thing unique about them is that we have broken the cycle of monetary debasement because it was a 200 year old cycle. And if the experiment of Bitcoin, which is a monetary experiment, works out, then we can break this 200-year-old cycle. In the Roman Empire, a small silver coin, the denarius, once held immense power. First minted around 212 BC, the purity and consistent value of the denarius fueled Rome's economic engine for centuries. As time passed, the pressures of prolonged military campaigns and political instability began to drain Rome's treasury. Several Roman emperors debased the currency to fund their ambitious infrastructure projects and their wars. They gradually reduced the silver content of the denarius, supplementing it with cheaper metals like bronze or copper. Strategic debasement initially remedied Rome's financial shortcomings, but ultimately brought the mighty empire to its knees. I'll just summarize like this quickly. Hi, BTC Noob. Thanks for joining. I just saw that you joined.
Hello.
We just started, so you did not really miss out on anything. So yeah, I'll just summarize this quick, this paragraph. You don't need to read this entirely. So the point is that, as I said, around 200 years is the cycle of any monetary standard, which traditionally has been paper money, and we have had gold standard as the gaps. But this is my personal opinion. This is not a universal opinion. But even gold standard was very poor because it always had centralization tendency. This is where Bitcoin is radical. This is where Bitcoin is doing something that gold was never able to do. As the silver content dwindled, so did the coin's value. Hyperinflation eventually ensued, severely destabilizing the Roman economy. The diminished value of the denarius affected the morale and loyalty of the Roman legions. Their wages paid in the weakened denarius could no longer buy what they once did. The decline was not limited to the military. Public trust in the Roman economy eroded alongside the denarius value, contributing to economic disparity. The wealth invested in land and other assets, but ordinary citizens saw their savings diminish faster and faster over time. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yes. So I think, yeah, this is a powerful paragraph because this is not too verbose or too. It's very simple language of explaining the idea that, yeah, when soldiers get pissed off of defending a corrupt system, then the system collapses. So in the current system, it's actually not physical soldiers; it's central bankers who are defending the system. And because Bitcoin exists in cyberspace, you don't need to physically defend Bitcoin. You just need to understand Bitcoin ethos and technicals to be able to verify the rules. Today, much of the economic hardship and erosion of purchasing power from inflation is exported from Western nations to developing countries with weaker currencies. As their currencies continuously devalue against strongest Western ones, like the US dollar, these countries are forced into a cycle of dependency where they must import essential goods at ever increasing costs while their export remain undervalued and cheap on global markets. I think in a very layman friendly language, I can summarize it as this, that because US dollar is 99% of the capital in the world right now, so anybody who is offering US dollars becomes an influence on every market. It has an influence on literally every market. So it distorts value and price signals. Hi, Bala. Just saw that you joined. Okay, I'll not be able to give you the context, but I think, yeah, we can read along if you have any thoughts and comments. Bala has a grip on macroeconomics, which I really like. So if you have anything to share, you can just go ahead and interrupt me and share anything with the group. Western monetary manipulation traps these nations in a never-ending story of curtailed growth and dependency on economically dominant countries. Slavery was never really abolished, but morphed into the type of economic serfdom that developing nations are forced to endure today. Corrupt governments and vampiric international monetary fund policies trap the people of the global south into working for minuscule wages as long as the dollar reigns supreme. Echoing historical colonialism, these policies often involve high interest loans with strict austerity conditions, prioritizing debt repayment over other public spending. Consequently, the global south effectively pays tax to the US. But yeah, I think all of us have faced it, face this in our personal lives, in our professional lives, that the US has an influence on everything, everything. It just permeates through every action of the economy. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everything is war. Both Bob Marley and Sinead O'Connor have famously quoted Haley Selassie's immortal words in their music. Whether Haley, Bob, or Sinead truly understood why this is the case is questionable. The intricacies of banking cartels, funding the military industrial complex via fraction money lending practices, and petrodollar dominance leading to inflationary economic colonialism are not easy to understand, let alone say, which is part of why the scheme has worked for so long. Many feel something is off, you can identify and articulate what. Yes, I think this is like the powerful message of this paragraph. Many feel something is off, only few can identify and articulate what, which is Bitcoiners. Essentially, the poorer you are, the more you pay. Think about that for a second. No one on earth would ever vote for a policy that has made the poor pay higher taxes than the rich. Still, this is the world we find ourselves in. Increased poverty is the inevitable outcome of democracy combined with central banking. People will vote for the politician who promises the most free lunches. Currency debasement creates the illusion of the free lunch, which it then adds to your tab via inflation's flip side, wage deflation. I think this is the myth that corporations lure young people with, that they say that, hey, we'll pay you for this, we'll pay you for that. But none of that actually is for that person, because they are trying to get as much as they can themselves. So this is where money and peer-to-peer money is even more powerful, because you can directly add value instead of waiting for your employer to tell you what to do. This truth seeking apparatus incentivizes every Bitcoin holder to save rather than spend and to help Bitcoiners and Bitcoin oriented companies thrive. The implications are simply mind blowing. If there ever was a hill worth dying on, this is it. Never before in human history has there existed anything remotely close to what Bitcoin promises. Fix the money, fix the world. It really is that simple. I think we had an interesting discussion once before about open source contributions being entrepreneurial activity. I think they are, because it's only numbers that make you valuable once you start adding value. So open source contribution requires human capital and requires people who are able to work with each other, who have trust with each other, and then scale it that way. So I think any Bitcoin company, community, education initiative has only thrived when more and more people are contributing voluntarily, and that is how anything grows. It's like that's how any system, any organic process, any company, any education, any warrior guild grows. So this grows out of that root of trust, which is a human capital. It's a reputation capital. So you don't once you have money that you don't need to trust anyone else with, you are allowed to trust other humans without a third party or without somebody meddling. Yes, we are at the end of this chapter. Yeah, I think these ideas are, of course, ideas that everybody articulates very differently. Every Bitcoiner has their own experiences. I am no way claiming that this is speaking for every Bitcoiner, but I think there is some resonance with anybody who is dedicating time to learn about Bitcoin. I'll take a pause now. Yep. Okay, so we'll start with the next chapter, Pendulum. I'll just give a heads up that I haven't been able to read the entire chapter, so I won't be able to summarize it or give the context. But I think we can read along, and if anybody has any questions, I'll feel free to ask. But I'll summarize each paragraph, so I'll condense the information from that paragraph that I can understand in the best of my articulation. Having audio issues on Discord, anyone else? Okay. Mango is having audio issues. Saurav, can you check?
Nothing at my end.
Okay. Okay, Mango, I hope you're able to hear me somewhat.
Yes, I can hear you now. What is wrong?
I don't know. I did not change anything. I muted myself for a while, for a few seconds. But yeah, it was me. It was not Discord, I believe.
Thank you.
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, I think Bitshala has already grown into the largest Bitcoin community in the world, and I don't know if it's the largest Discord community in the world, but I definitely think that that's an idea worth exploring, because as Bitcoin becomes more relevant, more people will come into Bitcoin communities, and Bitshala is doing more than any other community currently, as at least I understand. So yeah, I am curious to do some research just as a fun activity on the communities on Discord. I'm on a few of them. I'm not active on most of them. There is Bitcoin product community. There is Rust for Bitcoiners. There's Unsigned Labs. There's Stratum V2. There's Base 58 Bitcoin Design Community. Bitcoin Devs India. Yeah, I'm part of all of them, but I'm only active on Bitshala. If there's a lot of noise and clutter, I'll actually start to cut them down. Yeah. Okay, I'll start reading from Pendulum. The Pit and the Pendulum is a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, first published in 1842. It is a harrowing tale of psychological horror and physical torture set during the Spanish Inquisition, told by an unnamed prisoner sentenced to a horrible death. Okay, this is pretty interesting stuff. The prisoner is bound to a wooden frame with a massive razor-sharp pendulum slowly descending from the ceiling. As the pendulum's sweep narrows, dread mounts. Will the prisoner escape this diabolical execution, or will the blade inevitably find its mark? Poe's haunting narrative is a stark reminder that just as the pendulum's path oscillates between extremes, so too do human thoughts and societal movements careen wildly, propelling us toward potentially catastrophic consequences with every erratic pivot. I think I love this passage. I swear to God, this is the first time I'm reading it, and I think I can summarize it pretty simply. I think there's like this metaphor that moves the needle, and I think if you were to explain pendulum to somebody, you can explain it as a needle which sways back and forth. So it's a cycle. It's essentially just a cycle. It's a wave or a cycle. You can pick your favorite reference from mathematics or physics or metaphysics. The idea is that there is movement and there are cycles. So there are repetitions, there are patterns that you start to identify. So any human, I am sure, will be able to identify patterns in his own life. It's sometimes very difficult to imagine if there is a greater pattern or much deeper pattern going on, which is where I think macroeconomics, I don't know, I am not an expert or even fan of macroeconomics. I'm more of a fan of metaphysics. And I think, like physics, there are patterns with human action as well, and not just with the individual himself, but at the greater universal human action as well, which is the monetary history example. So if you understand Bitcoin, you know, or at least are wary of its potential, that this can disrupt finance, this can give you sovereignty, this can allow you to make peer-to-peer transactions, this can allow you to save, this can allow you to use Bitcoin, this can allow you to learn computer science, this can allow you to do so many things. You start to understand those patterns about yourself and then about what greater things are going on, which is all of it, which is for each individual to understand. So I'm not, yeah, it's subjective for each individual. What patterns are they able to identify? But as most people gain specialization in whatever they are doing, they start to sense patterns. And I think economics is the study of that. It's the study of human action by studying universal laws. So it does not say uh, gender based action, or it does not say racial based action. It says human action. And being a human is a universal trait. You know a human when you see a human. You can't ever doubt that this person is not a human. So I love the universality of human action. Yeah, so this passage, I mean, yeah, you can go into details of any of these. I have not done that depth of my research in this, but I love the realization of there being cycles to all of our stories, all of our individual stories, and the greater story as a consequence. I once tagged Crispian Jago's Venn diagram of irrational nonsense to a bulletin board in a meeting room of an old workplace of mine. Okay, so yeah, there's like some Venn diagram of irrational nonsense. The diagram is divided into four main categories: religion, quackery, pseudoscience, and the paranormal. Each category bubble contains subwords like reincarnation, aromatherapy, chemtrails, and telepathy. These main categories all overlap each other, but only one word sits in the middle, straddling all four types of nonsense: Scientology. Okay. Only one word. Yeah, so there is Scientology is like pseudoscience. I'm not an expert, but yeah, there's like some cult movement that became really popular. I have no depth of research about it, but I will read along. But yeah, I think this is very interesting territory. If you are into these ideas of philosophy, then you will like it. If you are not, then it's completely okay to ask very stupid questions. Honestly, very stupid questions. So if somebody who's new to these ideas, please feel free more than just to share any thought or ramble or question, because that's the only way to even make sense of these ideas. And I also suggest yeah, Yeah, I haven't interacted a lot with Naufi, but if you're curious to get to know the Bitshala team better, you can come to the 30th Bit Devs. And yeah, I have not interacted with you. Other than that, I've interacted online with BTC Noob. I don't know if you want to be a pseudonym BTC Noob. If you are able to, then maybe you want to come at the 30th event. But I see that you have been regular for the cohorts as well. So yeah. Okay. We come to the next page. What I found amusing about my colleagues' reaction to the diagram was that every one of them pointed out at least one word that they believed did not belong on the diagram. One person explained how astrology had predicted last week's events with at least 95% accuracy, and another claimed acupuncture had cured their skin rash. Not one of my co-workers agreed with the contents of the entire diagram. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, there are patterns everywhere. I am not an expert in astrology as well, but I have a curiosity there only because I think that human action is a beast of pattern. It's far too lazy to say that all of us are too complex to have any patterns. I think all of us do have patterns, and it's beautiful. It's like some people are better at something, some people are better at other things. You share information, you relish other people's success, you contribute where you can, and you live your own life. And I think that's the beauty of human action. Currently, economics is more it's not empirical. I think it's more universal, and astrology is not definitely universal. It's very weird, but yeah, for some people it does give insights. It has given to me sometimes as well. Yeah, and some people like acupuncture. Yeah, I have not done acupuncture very seriously. I've maybe used some toys. Not one of my co-workers agreed with the contents of the entire diagrams. Yeah. To each crazy their own. So if you are into something weird, don't feel ashamed. Looking at the same diagram today, I realized that even I have some objections to it. First, I noticed how Bigfoot and moon landing denial are both categorized under pseudoscience. The diagram has a burden of proof problem. The burden of proof of Bigfoot's existence lies with whoever claims that Bigfoot exists. So anybody who's saying that Bitcoin exists needs to be able to claim that Bitcoin exists, and they have the burden of proof, which I think is like the work of developers and researchers and Bitcoiners and educators. That the burden of proof is on us. Is on us. We say that there's only 21 million Bitcoin, but we, by virtue of saying that, we take the burden of proof of proving its existence, because there's no reason that somebody should trust us, and we build that trust by knowledge, by things that we do with purposeful behavior. Similarly, the burden of proof of moon landings befalls the institution that claims they happened, the National American Space Agency, NASA. If someone fails to find the evidence presented unsatisfactory, this does not necessarily make them believers in pseudoscience. Still, the denial angle ended up on the diagram. Yeah, so I think this is where I think Bitcoiners like Bitcoin, because it allows you to not live in denial anymore. That's the only thing that you can verify. Other than that, you are forced to trust some expert. That's like the reality of everything else. I'm not a biologist. I can't physically see a cell. I don't know if they exist. I have to trust an expert because they've put in the work, they've shown me results, they are happy with their work, other people value their work. It clearly shows. When you do that, it shows. So that's the trust part, and that's also why I've been advocating for trust itself never being bad. It can never be bad, because you have to build trust with your family, with your co-workers, with your friends, so on and so forth. So trust itself can never be bad. It's the problem of trust with money which is a problem, which should be voluntary, which should not be coerced. Another word located at the intersection between pseudoscience and quackery caught my attention. Yeah, quick. I think pseudoscience clearly means just lying or laziness, and quackery is just banter, according to me. Quackery is when you know that you are doing this as the word in Hindi, which is bakchodi, but that's not wrong. That's just something that you do with awareness. So I think that's where I draw the line between pseudoscience and quackery. But yeah, another word located at the intersection between pseudoscience and quackery caught my attention. A word that has a very different ring to it. In light of recent events, anti-vaccination, thrown around carelessly during the COVID-19 lockdowns, this word has lost its original meaning to a certain extent. People who think that every human should have the right to choose what substances they put into their bodies are now lumped together with people who believe vaccines cause autism and are a deliberate eugenic scheme orchestrated by the Illuminati. There is no nuance anymore. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, this is like as conspiracy theorist as you can be. So Illuminati. did the entire. This is what a lot of people claim. And yeah, this paragraph specifically argues for why this word itself, anti-vaccination, has lost meaning. So we'll cover that into detail. But yeah, just for my curiosity, and I hope other people also find it at least somewhat curious, that there's a lot of arguments for why people say that the entire COVID was a theater put on by World Economic Forum. On the Olympics as well, there were evidences of predicting the COVID-19 lockdowns and the events, which was very weird. But some people say that was wrong because that was just Harry Potter references. But I don't know. I don't know enough about either of them. Like many Bitcoiners, questioning mainstream narratives led me to adopt first principles thinking and the Austrian method of deductive reasoning. Yes, yeah, this helps you bring rationality to your life. Otherwise, there's too much to verify. So none of us can verify everything. So what we instead do is we adopt first principles thinking and the Austrian method of deductive reasoning. And if I had to put it in a very layman way, is to build from scratch. Whatever you are doing, you start small and then you start building on that. And if it's working for you, it's working for you. You are happy, you are getting paid for it, or you are getting value out of it. Yeah. But over the years, I have noticed how many Bitcoiners throw the baby out with the bathwater and dismiss all empiricism as pseudoscientific. This phenomena is to be expected as humans tend to overcorrect for historical errors. Yeah. I'm not an expert on history, so this is not my opinion. But this phenomena is expected because as a species, we tend to overcorrect for historical errors. So imagine like a pendulum, it goes to the extreme and only then it comes back. So we as human action, as a thing, human action does go to the extreme, which is like the nature of it. And what mistake many Bitcoiners, even Bitcoiners, do is throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which means that you dismiss everything as pseudoscientific, which is stupid because there's clearly value in physics, there's clearly value in chemistry, there's clearly value in business, in marketing, in coding, in being a lawyer as well, being a philosopher. So there's value everywhere, and you can't dismiss everything as pseudoscientific just because money is a lie, which is the current state of the economy. Clown world is all about overcorrection. Anti-racism is a prime example of humans admitting an ethical mistake and trying to correct it by running as far as possible in the opposite direction. Similarly, in the Bitcoin world, carnivore is on the rise as a correction to Klaus Schwab, urging us to all eat zay bugs. Doing the opposite of whatever the mainstream tells you to do is probably not the magic cure all that will save humanity from itself. It's more akin to post blade taking another swing. So, how can we navigate this new paradigm and what's the correct approach to get us closer to the truth? Okay, I love this. I love this writing style. I love Notes writing style. I have not. Yeah, I think this is the first time I'm going as deep into his writing. I've read his articles, but I love this. And I think Faisal has also expressed before that likes his humor. So if you observe Note and his writings, you will see that that guy makes a lot of jokes and he still gets a lot of serious work done. And I don't know, I personally also like him a lot. He has good reputation in the Bitcoin community. He's also a public voice. He still does not care about voicing his true opinions out, which I think is the right way to approach things, because unless you are actively wanting to get unwanted attention, and if you're doing something wrong, then you need to be worried. But if you're doing something right and you're voicing your opinions out and you're getting feedback from the universe, getting feedback from your peers, from your friends, from your family, from your Bitcoiners, then you know that you are moving towards the truth. To further explore different methodological approaches to science, but mainly for a laugh, I once created a Venn diagram of my own with some help from my friend Giacomo Zucco. This diagram comprised three circles: deductive reasoning, first principles, bro science, and systematic academic research. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know the power of first principles for fucking sure. I don't know the importance of bro science, but I know that yeah, I have bros, I have brothers. I know science. Yeah, there's some magic in bro science, and there's systematic academic research. I know the power of that for sure. This is reputation capital because any significant research has been had to be peer reviewed. So any peer that reviews any research has their reputation as the capital behind that research paper. So I know the power of. Yeah, I'll not pick up this call. We label the intersection between deductive reasoning and academic research, game theory, the intersection between bro science and academic research, placebo medicine, and the intersection between deductive reasoning and bro science, politicians suck. Bitcoin ended up in the middle of the diagram. Okay. We'll take a breath here. We'll just take a few steps back and we'll diagnose this specific paragraph. I'll just quickly take this. Hello. मेरी लोकेशन 155 हाउस नंबर है और
You have to mute yourself, Shriyan. This is
Shreyaan, you can go on mute. When Shreyan is not here, this is a concept that I have sort of read at other studies as well. Like they grade different kind of information into different buckets, starting with like the baser one being anecdotes. So they say anecdotes are the starting point of everything, and then they go to words like mechanistic science behind it. So how does it actually works out? Basically, some kind of which is pretty close to first principles approach to things, and then probably like a further research on if it actually works the way mechanism studies suggest it to be working. So yeah, some of them tier it like that.
If anyone has this text, is there a reference where we can find this this Venn diagram? I tried searching for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
I think he mentioned that he made this Venn diagram along with Giacomo Zocco. It's not something academic that is taught somewhere. It's not a principle that you'll find on the internet.
I was just searching for it somewhere on like it would be good to have the visual in this case to relate with what he's mentioning here.
Maybe you can DM Knut Sonholm or DM Giacomo Zocco if they are kind enough to reply, or maybe if this website or somebody. These people have a website called the Infinity Store, I believe. Maybe you can drop an email. If anybody is responsive, they'll get back to you. But I think it's only those two people that might be able to help you, Knut or Giacomo.
Great, thanks.
You are looking for the Venn diagram, right? Canute,
Yes.
Giacomo's Venn diagram.
Yes.
I'll just Google it. Canute. Giacomo.
I mean, I tried googling it, but I didn't arrive anywhere. Like I would expect him to have it as in the appendices of the book or something of that sort, right? Because it's done by him and he's talking about it here. But if anybody has this text, could you check at the back of the book, maybe?
I do have the text. I'll check. I'll let you know before the end of the session.
Awesome, thanks.
ChatGPT just makes up answers. It gave me a URL which does not exist. When I asked him asked it where can I find this Venn diagram?
I know there's nothing in the book. I couldn't find anything in the book.
While we are waiting for Shayan, are you guys, following, I don't know if it's the right place to discuss, but are you guys following the micro strategies move? And what are your thoughts on it? I was reading this article from Pierre Richard on the speculative attack on dollar. And like a lot of people are attributing it to the micro strategies move. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. If some of you are following that story.
Yeah, it's like there is some sort of an insatiable demand for this convertible notes that Sailor is issuing. Yes, I was telling like Sailor seems to have found this. Seems to have tapped this pool of capital through this convertible notes, and there seems to be too much demand in that.
Hey. I'm sorry. I hope you guys had a good discussion. In the meanwhile, I'll.
Bala, sorry, I could not. Hey, Shan, welcome. Sorry, Bala, I could not understand. Like, what did you say in the last? They have tapped into this infinite pool of capital and
Yeah, the Sailor seems to have tapped into this infinite pool of capital through this convertible notes that he is issuing, convertible bonds. And like while
I'm sorry.
while while people can easily park their money in US treasuries and get 4 to 5% yield, they are willing to lend him the money for 0% yield.
and why is that? So why people would want to get 0% yield out of an asset?
Because it's a convertible bond. Like there is a strike value of MSTR's share, and if its share price goes above the strike value, they can convert their bond value into MSTR shares and maybe cash out. If MSTR tanks and it goes below the strike value, they still get the they if they hold the bond to maturity, they'll get the amount and amount that they have lent. So there are hedge funds which do this convertible bond arbitrage trades, and they seem to have catched on to this, and Sailor is giving them.
Okay, okay, got it. Cool. I'll let Shreyan like continue with the book, and maybe I'll catch up with you separately beyond the call.
Yeah, but if it's okay, I would love to even extend this discussion. So for the 30th event, are all of you guys coming? So we can have a either a panel, and if you guys are not coming, it can be online as well. But any ideas on that? Okay. So Avram, any ideas?
Yeah, so on 30th, like a lot of us are will be there, but most of the panels will be technical or educational. So we'll not have anything that will be dealing with economics or finance. But we can
I think
separately
we
sit
should
on
have
the
an
sides and
educators. I think we should have an educators panel, and I think Karen, Bala, Faisal are already there. If we, I would love for Mango to be part of the educator panel as well. But up to you guys.
so the educative panel is not finalized, but it's something that's in discussion. So if more of us are keen to have it, we can plan it. We can plan it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, of course. These are just Du's thoughts, but yeah, I'll start reading. But I'll not take much of your time, and I would appreciate if you guys also don't take a lot of my time. So we'll read till 9 because I have not been able to have dinner uh, or even lunch the whole day. I'll yeah, but yeah, this I hope this session was amazing for me. I don't know if I was able to share or read at a pace where it was interesting for you people. Then please feel free to ask me separately as well. And yeah, if you want to, I don't think anyone goes over the YouTube videos, but if you do, if you think this content is valuable, we can even get snippets out and share this with people. I think the Monday optic sessions are also, in my opinion, a good exercise that we can get small clips out. But yeah, I don't know if that's bandwidth wise possible. I'll continue reading. Deductive reasoning of first principles thinking is a powerful method of problem solving that involves breaking down complex problems into their most basic foundational elements. The idea is to strip away the assumptions, conventions, and generalizations that often cloud a judgment and understanding. Instead of relying on existing solutions, analogies, or practices, you start with the first principles you know to be true, the underlying axioms. These facts are so fundamental that they can't be deduced from anything else. You then construct your reasoning and solutions from the ground up, anchored in these base truths. Anecdotal evidence or bro science refers to advice or information based on personal experiences, stories, or observations rather than scientific analysis. It is common in everyday conversations and can cover a wide range of topics from health remedies, dietary tips, business strategies, and life hacks. Anecdotal evidence is characterized by its subjective nature and personal context. It often reflects individual experiences, which can vary widely from person to person. One person's experiences do not necessarily extend to anyone else. Systematic academic research. Empiricism is a methodical approach to investigating phenomena through observation. Sorry, I had a cough. Systematic academic research is a methodical approach to investigating phenomena through observation, experimentation, and evidence based analysis. It emphasizes collecting data through sensory experience and measurable evidence. Researchers formulate hypotheses based on existing theories, design experiments to test these hypotheses, and analyze the results. The key feature of the modern scientific method is the peer review process, where scientists anonymously examine each other's work, supposedly ensuring the quality of the research. If it's okay, Bala, I would love to touch upon this idea with you because I have not done any systematic research myself, and I was part of the editor team for our newsletter, and I helped team build the entire newsletter, and I'm forgetting the name. There was some board of students, and there was one professor in the advisory board. But I have not done any research on hard sciences, so would love for you to touch upon it if you are comfortable.
Yeah, what the author is outlining how um, research is done. So basically, you observe something, and then you try to conduct an experiment to confirm uh, that observation. For example, if you observe a cause and effect, you try to repeat it, or you try to perform it in a controlled environment, and you try to confirm whether the cause and effect are what something is causing the effect. So you confirm that through an experimentation, and you collect the evidences in due course. So these evidences will help you sort of formulate a reasoning behind the cause and effect. So yeah, that's typically an observation is always followed by an explanation or a theory that sort of explains it in a much more fundamental level. So that's how scientific modern scientific experiments go. So once you have done this, uh, then you submit it, or you publish it for peer review process, and people who are trained in the same uh, trained in the same way of thinking, they evaluate your research, and it gets acknowledged by the community, and then becomes part of the established knowledge of science. So that's how it typically works. So it's not just to with respect to any uh, science or STEM kind of thing. It applies to humanities domain also.
Yeah, quick follow-up question. So, under humanities, I know law comes under humanities, but do you think economics is a humanities subject? I don't know.
Yeah, most now most of economics is econometrics. So uh, you observe something, and you need to collect evidences, and then try to reason the theory that you propose for the observation. So that's how economics works. So it's heavily data driven field, economics. The data can be measurements, or it can be opinions. You collect opinions, and then you put them in a statistical framework, and then you analyze it. So yeah, whatever it might be, even though your observations and experiments are qualitative, there are established methods to convert it into quantitative observations.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bala. I think I'm interested in econometrics. I first heard about it from Raj when I was discussing whether on the Bitcoin standard it will be actually pretty simple to do reasonable econometrics, because it's obviously always impossible because value is subjective. So I think it's a mathematical concept of ordinal numbers and cardinal numbers. So the idea of ordinal is a mathematical concept, not to do with the shitcoining that's happening on Bitcoin. But ordinal numbers are numbers which cannot be, I don't know if I'm quoting it correctly or understanding it correctly, but which do not have formulas. And cardinal numbers have a pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we build on that. But ordinal numbers are subjective based hierarchies. And yeah, I don't know if that's relevant to what Bala said. Yeah, have you heard of it? Are you somebody who's
Uh,
curious about this?
I am not very sure about the definitions. I have heard about it, but I have not come across the proper definition of them.
Are you a believer of the power law?
Yeah, it appeals, and it appeals to us. It will definitely appeal to anyone who is who has spent some time reading the established scientific methods. So it looks very convincing according to modern scientific methods. Yeah, the fit that you get with the straight line is sort of too good to be true. It's in the too good to be true territory. So yeah, I've been observing it for quite some time. So right now, past 6, 7 months, for the past 6 months or 1 year, it has become quite popular. Many people are working on it. But this idea has been around for the past 5 years or so in Bitcoin. Yeah, even then, it sort of amazed me with respect to the fit that you get in the log chart. It's just a straight line that keeps going.
But have you done it empirically? Have you done the?
No, I have not. I have not. I didn't find the time or an inclination to actually work out the proof. Yeah,
Right, right.
but uh, there are credible people who have done research on it and who have put up proofs, and it seems to be solid. Yet price and human emotions are the only question is as how does it capture the price and human greed into it. So that's the only question. That's the only part that I am confounded about it. It somehow captures it, but I don't know how and I don't know why.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much, Bala, as always. I think the next paragraph is actually the perfect paragraph to summarize the entire discussion. I'll just read this and we'll just share one final discussion, and then we can have our dinners or go to sleep or talk to family. There's a big difference between science and the science. Unfortunately, the latter currently dominates the media topography. Scientists act on incentives as much as everyone else, and the flow of money dictates what is to be researched and when. Several systemic issues plague modern academia and undermine its core mission of advancing knowledge. The relentless pressure to secure funding forces scientists to prioritize grant worthy research over passion projects, leading to a proliferation of papers produced mainly to obtain grants. This is a powerful, powerful passage. So, yeah, just never give up on your passion, never give up on your thirst for knowledge, never give up on the relentless pursuit of truth, whatever that means to you. I am nobody to tell you what the truth is. I'm somebody who can point you in the right direction. Right direction. But yeah, I think this is the reason that I also love interacting with Bitcoiners, because I think somewhere everybody does sense what is wrong. They're not just able to articulate it. So having discussions and just showing up for Bitcoiners also helps you understand where they are at, where you are at, where both of you can interact, where both of you can contribute, where both of you can add value, things like that. Yeah, thank you, short.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shreyan, and thank you everyone for showing up. But I'll have to make a move. You all can stay back and continue your conversation. Thanks a lot.